Hey everybody. So again this week I'm not going to be able to do any videos on Sunday, which means that I'm doing games of the week today on Saturday for next week. So these are what I think are the best games of the week from Sunday, November 4th through Saturday, November 10th. And there are a lot of really good matchups this week. I think I could have even more on this list, but I left some off because there's already so many games that I put on here. This is going to be a really, really fun week in the NHL, I think. And there are some great games to watch. So, Sunday the 4th, nothing. There's only a few games that day and nothing overly special. But on Monday the 5th, we have Montreal versus the New York Islanders. Those are two teams that are blowing expectations out of the water so far this season. They're both off to unexpectedly great starts. So I think seeing them match up is going to be really good, and we're going to see. I think the winner of that game is going to be the team that's probably for real, and the loser is the one that could end up going back to being closer to what we thought they were. But both of those teams are off to really good starts, and I cannot wait to see them match up and see who wins. Also that night, New Jersey versus Pittsburgh. That's going to be a good test for the Devils. Pittsburgh's lost twice to the Islanders last week. They can't be happy with that. Metro Division, not a huge rivalry, not at the same level as Pittsburgh versus the Flyers or Pittsburgh versus the Rangers, but still pretty good Metro Division matchup there with Pittsburgh and New Jersey. So that should be a fun one as well. Then on Tuesday, the 6th, we have Vegas versus Toronto. Vegas is not off to a good start this year. This is a big test against Toronto. If they can beat Toronto, that could be the kind of win that gets them back on track and is kind of a jumping off point for the rest of this season. And then Anaheim versus LA. I don't even need to talk about that. That is guaranteed one of the games of the week every single time they play. It doesn't matter if both teams are good, both teams are bad, one team's good, one team's bad. It doesn't matter. Those teams hate each other so much. It is guaranteed one of the games of the week, and that probably definitely one of the three best rivalries currently in the NHL. Maybe at number one right now, given how much they hate each other. Wednesday the 7th. There's only 3 games on Wednesday, and they're all fantastic. That's going to be one heck of a night. Pittsburgh versus Washington, then Nashville versus Colorado, and then Calgary versus Anaheim. They're all games of the week. Pittsburgh versus Washington is on NBCSN. Nashville versus Colorado is also on NBCSN. Those first 2 games, both matchups happened in the playoffs last year. Nashville versus Colorado was the first round matchup. Pittsburgh versus Washington was a second round matchup, but they both met each other in the playoffs, and those games are always great. And just Pittsburgh versus Washington is one of the best rivalries currently in the NHL. Nashville versus Colorado is an awesome Central Division matchup. Coming off a playoff series last year, I think that could be a growing rivalry. Those teams played a pretty nasty playoff series last year. I cannot wait for that. And then Calgary and Anaheim, Pacific Division rivals. That should be a fun game as well. Thursday the 8th, Buffalo versus Montreal. That's a game, again, 2 teams that are off to really good starts and playing better than expected, and it's going to be fun to see who can keep up those great starts and who falls back down to earth. So that will be a fun game to watch. Also, Buffalo and Montreal have a decent rivalry between them. They've been division rivals for a long time now. So that should be a fun matchup. And then the New York Islanders versus Tampa Bay. I want to see what the Islanders look like against Tampa Bay. Islanders off to a really good start. I did the video yesterday about them maybe being a playoff team. If they're gonna be a legitimate playoff team and a team that could possibly do damage in the Eastern Conference, they need to be able to beat teams like Tampa Bay, who are obviously very, very good. So that's going to be a really good test for the Islanders, and we're going to see if they're for real or not when they play Tampa Bay. Friday, November 9th. Usually not that many games on Fridays in the NHL, but this week there are, and there are some good ones. New Jersey versus Toronto. I think that's a really good test for the Devils because, again, the Devils are a team that I look at and go borderline playoff team. They might make the playoffs, they could not. So, playing a team like Toronto, who has a high flying offense and one of the best teams in the East, is a really, really good test for the Devils, and we're going to get to see what they're made of. Also, that night, Colorado versus Winnipeg. Great Central Division matchup. Those Central Division teams are just fantastic every time they play each other. But Winnipeg, obviously one of the best teams in the league. Colorado, off to a very, very good start. So this will be a good test for Colorado. They have Nashville and Winnipeg in the same week. We're going to find out just how good Colorado is this week. And then Saturday, November 10th, Nashville versus Dallas. Again, Central Division. Those games can get real physical. There's a lot of teams in the Central Division who are looking to be playoff teams, and both Nashville and Dallas are certainly those. Nashville's off to a great start. Dallas been better lately, so they're making a push to get back into the top three in the Central, and that should be a really fun game. Toronto versus Boston, I don't even need to talk about that. Playoff series from last year. Huge rivalry between the teams, and Toronto obviously making the push, trying to get better than Boston, which they could not do last year. So just great rivalry matchup there. And then Calgary versus Los Angeles. That's become a pretty good rivalry over the last couple of years. Those teams don't like each other very much, so that should be a fun game to watch out in the Pacific Division. So these are the games of the week for this week. There are a lot of them. I think this is going to be a great week in the NHL. There are a lot of great matchups. The first month, you have a lot of cross-conference stuff. You get kind of a lot of the boring games over with early, and I like the way the NHL does that. I wish they did it a little less because it does make the first month or so of the season really, really boring at times. But we're getting into some really, really good matchups now, and these games should be fun to watch. So if you get a chance to watch any of these games, I certainly hope that you do so because they're going to be a fun time. And I know that Pittsburgh versus Washington and Nashville versus Colorado are both on NBCSN on Wednesday night, so that should be a great night of hockey. And I will probably live stream during the Pittsburgh versus Washington game. So definitely come check that out. But that's pretty much it for this week's Games of the Week. Those are all great matchups. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support Off the Wall Hockey, the link to our Patreon page is also down in the description. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.